Here, I understand some may be here for class. Well, we appreciate your presence anyway, even if you may have been voluntold. We understand it's bright early on a Friday morning, so we really do appreciate you being here. I also want to thank Harper College for hosting this discussion this morning about careers in public service. We have, of course, Congressman Krishnamoorthi and a panel of distinguished experts. I'm Leslie Reese. I'm a current member of Congressman Krishnamoorthi's staff. I'll be moderating the discussion, joined by, of course, the Congressman and three people who have embarked on very successful careers in public service. And all three of them, at one point, early on, worked for Congressman Krishnamoorthi. So we all have that alumni network in common. In just a moment, you're going to hear their stories and also hear why a career in public service might be right for you. But before we get into all of that and our discussion, which of course we'll leave some time toward the end for your questions, I'd like to introduce President Dr. Proctor for a few words.
Thank you, Leslie. Good morning, everyone. And yes, it's a beautiful Friday morning. I'm glad that you're here. And Congressman Krishnamoorthi, and pillar in our community, as well as for our state and our country, and also on a global scale. But I think it's important to talk about service in government and public affairs. And I'm looking at who's on the panel and how each of your offices have impacted the college in so many ways at the county level. Commissioner Morrison, in Senate, with Senator Durbin. I mean, we really do have great stories that we can share with the college community and beyond in terms of how their leadership has impacted Harper. When I found out that these folks were connected to Congressman Krishnamoorthi in an earlier life, I thought, wow, that tells you how far that impact goes. And the history is really important to know. So in recognizing Congressman Krishnamoorthi, I really thought it was important to recognize or emphasize that his being a strong supporter of the college and certainly is a great advocate for higher education. Whether it's his bipartisan effort that resulted in the first reauthorization and reform of the Perkins Career and Technical Education Program, we know that directly impacts our students here, and the many years of support in that regard, as well as his support of our soon-to-be here. We're waiting on one last leg of approval from the Federal Aviation Administration for our aviation maintenance program. And so we're hoping by this fall that will be in place. Significant funding, $500,000 community project funding to get that going, so we're excited for that support. But just some history, I think it's important to remind folks, Congressman Krishnamoorthi was elected to Congress in 2016 and is now in his 5th term representing Illinois' 8th District, which includes Harper. He serves as the ranking member of the Select Committee on Strategic Competition between the United States and the Chinese Communist Party, making him the first South Asian American in history to lead a congressional committee. He also serves on the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence and the Committee on Oversight and Accountability as ranking member of the Subcommittee on Healthcare and Financial Services. Congressman Krishnamoorthi is also Vice Chair of the Equality Caucus and Co-Chair of the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus Immigration Task Force. And he's the founder and chairman of the Bipartisan Congressional Caucus to End the Youth Vaping Epidemic and the Bipartisan Solar Caucus. So again, he's really instrumental in bringing people from all walks of life together to advance our causes and improve our community, our state, our nation, and on a global level as well. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Congressman Krishnamoorthi and his wonderful panel. Thank you.
Can you hear me? Oh, yeah. Wow, this is really very good. Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you, Dr. Proctor, for your leadership. I think this might be the 3rd time I've seen you this week. Thrice is nice. Look, I think that Dr. Proctor and Harper are so pivotal and important for the prosperity of this community. I think Harper is ranked one of the best community colleges in the country.
Yes.
And so, and they've got one of the best presidents of community colleges in the country. And so, thank you. So, I'm a big cheerleader for Dr. Proctor and Harper. Why? Because they prepare students for careers that are able to allow people to enter into the middle class, and hopefully someday do public service as well. And so, these folks up here I've known for so long, and I think the thing that they share in common is, in addition to being alums of our office, is that they have servant hearts. They have devoted themselves and their lives at this point to serving their community. And now more than ever, people are asking themselves the question, what should government be about? What is the role of government? And given what's happening in Washington and the chaos that you see with the current administration and what you hear in terms of uncertainty related to the future, especially on the economic front, but really on so many fronts, people are saying, okay, what can I do? How should I make a difference? And how do we kind of get back to a better place? And so I think now public service is a calling that is extremely important, and I hope that everyone here considers it. And that's why we're convened, because I want to ask these folks, why did you choose a career of public service? What made you want to get involved? And Leslie herself, my deputy district director, is one of those people with a servant heart that does so much, not just for our constituents. By the way, we've closed almost 13,000 constituent services cases in our time in office. Clap for yourself. Leslie has kind of supervised that, and I think that goes to kind of the purpose of our office. And so maybe I'll kick it off by asking each of the panelists to say a couple words about themselves, and maybe answer the question, why are you in public service? Like, what is kind of motivating you to do that? So first I'll introduce Commissioner Morrison. He was one of those people who helped me get on the ballot a couple times. And so from there, he went on to run himself for commissioner. He's the first openly LGBTQ commissioner in Cook County's history. We also have Yasmeen Bankole, she is a former staffer of mine, and she became trustee of Hanover Park. And she also works very closely with Senator Durbin in his office. And then we have Ted Mason, who also was in my first term, and then became committeeman for Elk Grove Township, and now works for the county as well. So I'm going to ask each of them to answer this first question, why public service, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
First and foremost, thank you, Congressman Krishnamoorthi, for convening this panel today. I want to thank President Proctor and Harper for hosting us. I'm Kevin Morrison. I grew up in Elk Grove Village. My beginnings, first and foremost, what made me interested in being a change maker and trying to bring good to our communities is witnessing the sexism and misogyny my mom experienced as a small business owner. Some of my first memories as a kid were sitting up at one of the front booths and hearing customers ask for the owner, and every time my mom would come out, she would get the same response. Excuse me, I asked to speak to the owner. And at this time, I didn't understand it. I come from an Italian family, women are in charge, and I did not understand why she was getting that response. But I think as a youth, witnessing my mom have that experience made me more keenly aware to all the other issues that were still impacting our communities. And from a very young age, I knew that I wanted to take a leadership role and help cultivate change and bring our country to that better future. And so, growing up in the northwest suburbs as a closeted LGBT person was not easy. I experienced a lot of bullying throughout junior high and high school. And so when I had the opportunity to go to college, I went to the city. I did get accepted to Harper, but at the time I it wasn't the most safe place, I felt, for a queer youth in the Northwest suburbs. That began to change with marriage equity. And when, I saw President Barack Obama win his election, it gave me a little bit of faith. I always knew I wanted to run for office, but I never thought I could do so, especially not in the Northwest suburbs, successfully living my authentic self and being openly LGBT. And I am so grateful that is no longer a concern we have to have in the Northwest suburbs. And working for the Congressman, I saw his work ethic, how hard he was working, and when I saw an opportunity to take a step up and run for office, I was excited to jump at it. I was excited my friends and mentors had faith in me. And when I got elected, I became the youngest and first openly LGBT person ever elected to the Cook County Board of Commissioners.
Yasmeen, can you say anything?
Yes. Good morning, everyone. My name is Yasmeen Bankole, and so how did I get interested in public service? I would say it's from my parents. Just from a young age, they instilled the values of caring for one another, caring for the planet, and so I have so many memories of them taking me to environmental cleanups and volunteering. I remember in high school, I went to Lake Park High School in Roselle, not too far from here, and I was president of the Earth Club, and when I went away to college, I ended up getting my bachelor's degree in environmental studies. And even when I came back and was working in the summers, I worked at Schaumburg Township District Library for many years. My mom was a librarian. And libraries are a form of local government. And so I think there's always just been a common thread of being involved in my community, being civically engaged, caring for one another, caring for the planet. And so when it came time to work for Congressman Krishnamoorthi, it just felt like such a natural fit.
Great.
Yeah, thank you, Congressman, for having us here today. Commissioner or Trustee, it's great to be up here on the panel with you. Like the Congressman said, my name is Ted Mason. I've pretty much been a lifelong resident here in the Northwest suburbs. I don't know if I have a specific instance that brought me into public service, but just kind of always believed that we have one chance here on this earth and we should spend it giving back however we can. I started in 2011 with former State Senator Toy Hutchinson's district office. I was with her for about 6 years and worked my way up to her chief of staff. And then in 2016, helping the Congressman on his first election here. And we had an election with President Trump as well for the first time. And I really felt like I needed to do something a little bit more and to fight back a little more. So I was very grateful to join the Congressman's district office as his first district outreach director, and really get to learn more about the 8th Congressional District and just the great diversity we have here in all the different communities. And then at the end of 2018, I was able to join Commissioner Morrison's district office as his chief of staff and get to do a little bit more policy work, which I haven't done before. And just, I believe, with my background with local, state, federal government, how they're all so complex and different, but how we're all constantly working together to benefit our mutual constituents, and just to have really good public servants in those offices is what we're striving to do. So thank you again for having me. I'm excited.
Thank you, everyone. I'd like to kick things off by asking sort of a multi-part question. First, what drove you to work in a congressional office? Why Congressman Krishnamoorthi's office? And given that all three of you actually started in his office with different positions and different roles, tell us a little bit about your experience, what you found was the best part of that experience, and what you found was the most challenging part. And no, we're not going to talk about how demanding and how wonderful a work ethic the Congressman has. I will tell you that that's probably one of the things that impressed me the most is his tireless work ethic. I mean, he works harder than all of the staff put together. And I think that's something that is in the heart of everyone who's a public servant. But I'm going to stop talking because we really want to hear from all of you. So, Commissioner, you'd start off.
Well, so to begin with, during the 2016 cycle, I actually worked for Hillary Clinton's campaign. I worked in 4 different states, and I moved up from organizer to regional organizing director, leading 4 counties in Northeast Ohio, and that election was soul crushing for me. And when I came back home, I had to do a little bit of soul searching myself and figure out what are my next steps. I had a lot of experience with local parties in the 4 states I worked with, and I wanted to get more ingrained in my local community. I grew up in Elk Grove Village, and I don't know if the Congressman knows this. It was actually the exact week, that weekend, I was going to be taking the LSAT. I had been studying all summer, and I actually got 3 job offers all within 24 hours. And one of those job offers was to work with Congressman Krishnamoorthi. The other 2 would have taken me out of state. And I had already committed myself to being on the ground, building an organization, building our local community, helping strengthen our party locally in the community I grew up in. And so I knew it was an easy decision. I wanted to work with a congressman. And you will see that there are very few people with a work ethic like Congressman Krishnamoorthi. He is demanding. He has high expectations, but for good reason. When you represent over 800,000 people, that's a lot of responsibility. And I think if we're seeing, especially with the zeitgeist today, people have high expectations on their congresspeople, and they're not seeing enough action. And no one can say that about Congressman Krishnamoorthi. He's literally everywhere, making 11 p.m. News time appearances, getting on morning shows, going to community events all throughout the district. And I gotta say, if I learned one thing from my time working for the congressman, it was to show up, be present, and to talk to as many people and learn their stories as possible.
Yasmeen?
Yes, thank you. There were so many questions in that. So I went away for school. I went to Syracuse University. I actually took a chemistry class at Harper College, and I forgot to mention that my mother taught it at Harper College. She taught library science for a little over a decade here, so Harper is a special place for me. But went away to college, got my master's degree at the University of Denver in global affairs, and then came back home and was just trying to figure out what to do. And I remember learning about an internship opportunity with Congressman Krishnamoorthi's office. And I think it's really special that I'm on this panel with Ted Mason, because when I interned for when I interviewed for the internship position, my interview was with Ted. It was. And so I was lucky enough to get an internship. I learned so much about the inner workings of a congressional office. And then I remember 2 months later, I was hired on as staff assistant. And I oversaw casework. I assisted with office management and was able to work my way up and oversee different aspects of the office. But I want to go back to what Leslie mentioned, or it may have been the congressman, that Congressman Krishnamoorthi's office has closed out 13,000 cases. And I just want to say, I really just want to highlight the importance of that and highlight the fact that each and every one of those cases is a human being, right? A human being that needs assistance. And the fact that our offices, congressional offices, are able to serve as a liaison and to cut through that red tape and cut through bureaucracy and really have a real-time positive impact in people's lives is so important. And Congressman Krishnamoorthi has taken it upon himself to be a leader in this space, and so he has touched so many lives in the district. I don't think I answered your question, but that's a little bit about me and how I got my start in the congressman's office.
I think it was great answer.
Yeah.
What did you find most challenging about working in the office?
Ooh, so we, you know, on a daily basis, we're just trying to meet the needs and the wants of our constituents that come to you with a range of topics. Some people are not getting their mail and would like you to work to reach out to the United States Postal Service, figure out what's going on. Some people are going through the immigration process and need assistance there. And so making sure that we were fully equipped to help them to the best of our abilities could be challenging sometimes because you're working with so many people and so many different issues. But again, under the leadership of the Congressman and Leslie, I should say, because Leslie's a mentor of mine, they were able to succeed in many ways.
Thank you, Ted. And in your role, tell us a little bit about why working in a congressional office helped you on your path, why Congressman Krishnamoorthi's office, and what was your experience like working in the office?
Sure, thank you. Yeah, so like I said in 2016, with the results of that election not going how I personally would have liked, really trying to make more of a difference at the federal level. And as Elk Grove Township Democratic Committee person, like the Congressman said, we have worked very hard for him in both the primary and the general election. We really wanted him in this office. We're glad he's there. So really trying to make a difference however best we could. And I think one of the things, when you work for the Congressman, you know, congressional offices are busy and they're fast-paced and things are always moving. And the thing that I always took away is that, I think Leslie said it, no matter how busy you are, whatever you're doing, Congressman Krishnamoorthi was working more harder than everyone combined. So no matter how tired we might have gotten, we knew that he was out there hustling and doing everything he could for his constituents. I would say the two difficulties about the office that I took away was, one, I was there on day one for the district office, so really the growing pains of just getting a district office up and running and seeing what worked and what types of staff we needed and how we could help constituents. And it was a group effort to really get that office up and running and moving in the right direction. And then two, like we mentioned, sometimes, especially at the federal level, things are so fast-paced and we're trying to close out those 13,000 cases or get to an event in the district to represent the congressman, but the phones might be ringing off the hook because people are upset, and so we're trying to balance answering constituents' calls, hearing their concerns so that they feel like they're heard, but also still doing all the other work that has to happen in the congressional office. So I'd say those would be the two takeaways I have from that.
Well, thank you. I'd like to talk a little bit about what skills are necessary in starting along a career path, what skills you developed while working in the Congressman's office. And I'd actually like to start with you, Congressman. What skills do you look for when hiring an entry-level person or looking at someone that you think is going to be a successful intern?
Well, I thank you. Actually, Leslie is the den mother for all of our interns. We've had so many interns at this point. That is like a separate conversation probably. But like in terms of interns, the types of people we're looking for are people who just you know, who are willing to put in the time to kind of learn what's going on, who want to be helpful however, you know, possible, whether it's, you know, assisting with advancing an event or whether it's helping with the constituent services case. If I fast forward to entry-level people, like all these people came in when we were just setting up the office for the most part. And basically, none of them have egos that would prevent them from doing whatever needs to be done to kind of keep the office rolling. And you want to see that in anybody who comes to the office, that they don't say, "Oh, I can't do that. That's, you know, beneath me." Basically, you want people who are willing to do anything, put their full effort into it, and then, you know, want to know how they can be helpful. You know, we are in the, you know, help given business. You've heard the help wanted business. We're in the help given. We try to do whatever it is to make a difference in people's lives. And I think right now, well, let me back up a second. I think each of you came in during the first Trump administration. Right. And so I can't tell you how many, phone calls we were getting, how many letters and emails, and then how many rallies and public events that were happening all of a sudden, all at once. And all of them were instrumental in making sure that we were there, we were prepared, and that we gave people comfort who were going through a really turbulent time. Fast forward to now. It feels a little bit similar. And so we need more people like that who are who have grit, right? They aren't, they don't feel like inhibited by the current atmosphere or climate to channel whatever fear they might have or channel whatever concerns they have into action. We need to be action heroes at this point. And my staff are action heroes. They are constantly saying, okay, I understand you are afraid because of your immigration situation. I know you're concerned because of what's happening in Washington, D.C. I know that you, as a small business, are going through so much with tariffs. I'm here to help. Let's channel our concern into action. And all of these people are like that. When I think of what binds all of our staff, and for that matter, interns, but all of our staff for sure, they're not sitting there fretting. They are trying to do something productive to kind of deal with the underlying problem. And so that's kind of what I see as kind of an essential trait to do well in public service.
Beyond
Oh, can I say one other thing? One other thing. Sorry. They're entrepreneurial. And Brian, my chief, is back there. Can you raise your hand, Brian? He's one of the best chiefs anywhere. And I have Hannah back there, our comms person, one of our best comms people in the country, I think. And I think we're always entrepreneurial. That means, like, I don't know the answer to half the questions that they are being, bombarded with in any given day. So what I'm asking them to do is, please suggest to me what needs to be done. So we have, 30 people kind of generating their own independent ideas for moving us forward. Half the time, Leslie she's like an expert on immigration law, by the way. She'll be like, okay, I think this is the way we should go, and I wouldn't have known the first step to take. But I'll be at this point, I have so much faith in Leslie. I'll just say, okay, go. Let's do it. Whatever you say, let's do it. Go ahead.
I'd like to point out one more Harper alum who's in the back there someplace. Andrew.
Where's Andrew? That's right. Where's Andrew?
He just stepped out.
Let me talk about Andrew for a second. So, Andrew was actually at Harvard.
Yes.
When was he an intern?
He started as an intern with us.
Okay, so we have a bunch of interns that became staff.
We
actually.
do.
So,
We do.
So,
And a couple of former interns in the audience here as well.
Andrew was pursuing his associate's degree,
Yes.
right? At the time that he became an intern for us. At that same time, I was working with Brian. Brian was at LA at that point on reauthorizing our nation's skills-based education program. And so one of the things that I very much believe in is how do we basically help people in non-four-year college tracks to achieve their full potential, and how can our office participate in that? So we actually worked with Harper to come up with a curriculum that enabled Andrew to study subjects that he would then work on in the office. You follow? So he was learning and earning at the same time, which I believe very much in. So he came in, finished his associate's degree, then got a job with us full time. He's kind of risen up the ladder. I forgot where he is going. He's like so far up. The ladder.
Deputy Director of Constituent Services.
He's back. And,
It only fits on the business card.
and he's now also pursuing his four-year college degree. Yeah. And we're helping him with that. So it's like, it's a career, we believe in lifelong learning. So we want people to learn and earn and learn and earn throughout their lives. And we want, so that's just something that's that Andrew has kind of brought to the table in a big way. And
There's Andrew.
We just talking about you. I'd like to hear what skills you think helped you along the path. Obviously, we've talked about traits, but are there hard skills? People often ask, what do I need to study to get involved in this? And you've all got different degrees. So talk about what skills help make you successful.
So when I worked for the Congressman, I worked on the political side. I had to help, continue to grow his political connections throughout the congressional district. And he was in his first term, so this was the second time that he needed to get back on the ballot. And it's, petitions are a funny side of politics. It's not always easy convincing someone to sign a sheet of paper and provide their information, but it is crucial to getting good candidates on the ballot. If you don't get your petition signatures, there's no way you can run for office. And so it takes an important skill of communication, of being able to relate with the person you're talking with, to gain their confidence, show that, for one, you're not a scammer, because there's far too many of them around us today, and show, a little bit about yourself. Working on the political side, you have to tie in your own personal story, connect that with the candidate that you're working for, and then also try to find a way to relate with the person that you're speaking with at the time. And so you often have so many different things going on in your mind at any given time. We have very diverse communities throughout the Northwest suburbs and throughout the 8th Congressional District. And I find the one thing that I have been able to develop and become really good at is, no matter the education level, the immigration status, whether or not they were born here in America or moved here and became a citizen, being able to relate with that person, find common ground, is incredibly difficult work. But if you could really work on becoming good at that, it is so incredibly important. And taking it from the political side to then running for office, I've been able to utilize that. I'm a young LGBT person. I'm the first Democrat to ever hold my seat in the Northwest suburbs. And I've been able to build support across the wide swath of ideologies, because what I learned, having to force and get all those thousands of signatures for the Congressman to get it back on the ballot, to get volunteers involved and stumping, going door to door, going out to libraries, going to community events, convincing folks to sign those papers, is you can find common ground with just about anybody. And especially in the world we're in today, there's so much divisiveness, there's so much that separates us. And we need more folks who look at other individuals who might not agree and might have really, important issues that are important to you as an individual, but that person disagrees with you. But being able to look at them as a human, find that common ground and speak to them, it is so important today. And I think that's a quality that the Congressman shares and something I learned along the way.
Well, thank you.
So my experience was a little bit different. So I worked on the government side in the Congressman's, during the Congressman's first term and then into his second term. And I was thinking through, while I was listening to Kevin speak, some of the things that really helped me, during that time. And one of the things I think about is time management. We are thrown so many different things, and being able to juggle those things and be effective in your work was important. I thought about being a team player. The Congressman mentioned it before, but no task is too small, no matter what your title is, and just being able to get the task done at hand. And then I also just think about being detail oriented. As I mentioned before, with casework, every case is someone's life. And sometimes you're dealing with really sensitive information, and you just want to make sure you get it right and make sure that you are able to assist them with their matter. So I will say I spent a few years working for Congressman Krishnamoorthi, and then started to work in the United States Senate for Senator Durbin. And many of the skills that I learned when working for the congressman, I was able to transfer them over when I started to work in the Senate. And so now I serve as Senator Durbin's regional director, where I have Northeastern Illinois under my purview, and I oversee congressional outreach portfolios. I assist with putting on press conferences for the senator, throughout Northern Illinois, and those same skills still apply. One other thing I might just mention is that relationship building is so important. Being able to cultivate, maintain relationships, and serve as your boss's eyes and ears in the community is so important, because it allows you to stay abreast of emerging issues, emerging trends. You're able to get that back to your boss and really represent your constituents' needs in DC with that information that's being collected. So I'll just say I learned so much during my time in Congressman Krishnamoorthi's office, and it's helped me where I am today.
Sure. So for me personally, for my undergrad, I double majored in political science and history, and then I got my master's in politics and government. And those are all very general, broad degrees. And so I would encourage anyone who wants to go into a field like this to really get something more narrow, get the communications degree, the public policy degree, public administration, really consider focusing it more. I think that makes you more marketable when you're trying to get into public service. And then in terms of just what you can do to kind of advance your career, like Yasmeen said, with relationship building. When I was in college and getting my master's, I didn't have a lot of opportunities to intern or to volunteer. I was working 20 to 40 or more hours a week while going full time. So when I started out, I felt a little bit behind the 8 ball. So if you have an opportunity to intern or volunteer, and it doesn't have to be it's great if it's a congressman's office, but it doesn't have to be municipalities, nonprofits. There's so many different groups that are looking for volunteers, and really continue to build those relationships, keep those networks, and things are changing all the time. So just kind of be ready for when the opportunity hits, and use your skills and those relationships to move forward.
Congressman, you mentioned that everything we do really falls under the umbrella of helping people, giving help. And you've always taken a very broad approach to helping individuals, businesses, other groups, both in our district and out. I remember when we first started working, you mentioned that the rule of the office is everyone who asks for help gets help. And I'd like you to talk just a moment about how that approach has affected how you run the office, how your staff is, how you develop skills for the staff, what you think is important as people move through their career development as staff members.
So, I think the tangible result is that we have a lot more work. But in all seriousness, I think that there's deep cynicism about government right now, throughout society, and it doesn't matter what your political allegiance is. I think that people just view government as ineffective and unhelpful when you most need them, okay? And so, because of that kind of cynicism and distrust, which I feel was especially, it was evident at the time that I got elected, I think it's especially prevalent now, I decided we're going to play against type. We're going to be the yes people. Meaning, you come to us and you say there's a pothole in front of your house that needs to get fixed. We're not going to say, well, that's someone else's department. We're going to say, let me find out, how to address that, and we'll come back to you. It may not be us, it probably isn't, but we're going to try to connect you to the people who actually can get it done. And so that kind of mentality of, come to us and we will do our best to guide you to a solution. And problem solving is like part and parcel of what I think it means to be a public servant. And quite frankly, when I talk to each of these three people on any given issue, by the way, they have that approach. Like they don't say, not my department. That kind of mentality is not part of their framework. It's more like, okay, let me figure this out and come back to you. And so I think that is something that is really essential today, now more than ever. Especially it was true during COVID, when people were just, from businesses to individuals, they were basically shut down in terms of their daily activities, and they needed help. And so we broke down the geographic lines, and we just didn't ask them, okay, are you right in our district lines or across the street or whatever? We just said, yes, how do we help? And I think that is something that it surprises people when we do that, and hopefully builds a little bit more trust in the institutions.
How did the Congressman's approach to dealing with constituents and his entire office approach help you in your careers? And what was his best advice to you as you were pursuing your career path? And let's start with Ted, if we might.
Sure, I think the best advice from the Congressman has just always been to kind of follow your passion. If it's in the Congressman's office, if it's working with another group, really pursue what you are most passionate about. And in terms of helping constituents, that's something that we still do in the Commissioner's office. I've taken that to heart. We don't tell anyone no, we help them. A lot of times they're calling the wrong office, but we're still going to help them get to the right place and get their problem solved. And I think just really never saying no, never leading with no as a response. How can we get to yes? I think that's how we need to help anyone who calls the office or when we're out in the community or whatever it may be, but really just to try to help people best that we can. Same with policy. People tell us all the time, no, it can't be done, we shouldn't be doing it. That's not how we've done it. But if we think it can or should be done better, how can we move that forward?
Thank you. Yasmeen?
So I'm going to try to answer this in a roundabout way, so bear with me. So working for the Congressman allowed me to see the inner workings of a congressional office and give me just a personal up-close look at just public service. And so, it's during that time where I thought, well, maybe I can do this, I will say that I'm not too keen on public speaking sometimes. It does make me quite nervous. And I would watch the Congressman speak, and I would think, wow, he's such a great speaker, and I think I can do this. And so I did make the jump, and it's not something that we've talked about during this panel, but I did make the jump, and I ran for local office in the village of Hanover Park, so a couple towns over. And I now serve as a trustee in the village of Hanover Park. And I'm not sure I would have taken the jump had I not seen the inner workings of an office from the get-go. And so that is something that I took away from this experience. I learned to try to keep my speeches short and sweet. I learned that for the Congressman. I learned that that sometimes courage is needed when you are making difficult decisions that are in the best interest of your constituents, but also might not be easy decisions to make. I learned about being a good leader. So those are just some of the things that I've taken away, just as it relates to just advice and things that I continue to carry with me.
Thank you. Kevin?
It's hard to, going off what Ted said, as well as the congressman, every constituent's voice matters. And when someone is reaching out to your office, they have a need. Sometimes they don't know what part of government is responsible or who can take action on the issue they're dealing with. And you know, when I was considering a run for office myself, I was thinking a lot about the constituent services I was seeing on the government side that the congressman was dealing with and how he was interacting with constituents as he was going to events. And all I kept hearing was how my predecessor wasn't present, wasn't responsive, wasn't showing up. And you know, when I did get elected, I told my team, we, for one, need to be responsive. We need to make sure that everyone who calls us gets an answer. And from the very earliest days, we cultivated a Rolodex of all the movers and shakers in all different bodies of government and with local organizations, so that you know we could be that avenue that, hey, I don't know who's responsible for this, who can help, but what I kept telling my constituents was, you can count on me, call my office. It might not be a county issue, but if you don't know, call us. We have a Rolodex. We'll point you in the right direction. We'll give you a direct handoff with someone who can assist. And the truth of the matter is, not everyone is a workhorse like Congressman Krishnamoorthi, like Yasmeen, like Ken Mason, like myself, who actually wants to be exhausted at the end of the day because they know they put all their effort into helping others. And so that's really, you know, throughout all my experiences, you know, I started in college as an environmental activist. I worked on a bunch of local campaigns. I worked for a presidential campaign, and then I came to the congressman's office and, you know, had the responsibility of trying to get it back on the ballot, and that's a lot of pressure. But it's important work. And in the end of the day, I just making sure that whatever issue that someone's dealing with, being able to empathize with them, it is always top of mind. How do I help them on their path in whatever direction they're seeking? And I know that's something that the congressman has been dedicated to. It's something he expects of all of his staff, and it's something I've been able to take with me to the county.
Thank you. I know we're running a little short on time. Did want to leave a moment if we've got maybe one or two audience questions. Yes, sir.
Sure. We love to take interns. That could be one of our interns. Let me know, or a fellow. Okay. Okay. We have someone interested in internship. So
We'll talk afterwards. Anyone else? Well, in that case, in the interest of time. Oh, is there one? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Hearing from you all talk about like the passion and the conviction to give public service, give to your community, so it sounds like that it takes a lot of mind, a lot of heart, and a lot of your time. So I think it'd be good for people to like get a sense from you on how you feel about making sure that as you give so much of yourself, that you still have something to give back to keep yourself stable. And then the other part to it, how do you feel about making sure that with all that you give to your constituents, you still have time to give back to your own home, your family, your own communities?
Anyone want to take that?
go ahead.
It is difficult, but it's something that, I mean, I have two calendars that I operate off of. I often try not to look at the following week because then it becomes a little overwhelming. But ensuring that you make time for yourself, one thing, every time I take a flight, I have like my own little like prayers that I go through, and one is that like everyone who works a full-time job, that I hope that they get vacation time, because I think it's crucial for your own mental health. But being able to make time for yourself, make time for your loved ones is incredibly important. But I have always been a workhorse. When I went to college, I was a full-time student, I had a part-time job, and I was always interning with at least 2 different organizations at any given time. And I still made time for my friends. It just meant I slept less. And I made time for my family. I'm mostly Italian, so I mean, you gotta make a lot of time for your Italian family. Every time you go to an event, you have to give everyone a hug and a kiss, and before you leave, you have to give everyone a hug and a kiss. So it's often really difficult to get me out of any event because I feel the need to say bye to everyone I know, because that's how I grew up. But, you know, I like being busy. I like, because of what I learned throughout, you know, all the work I did in politics and government, I've already lived out one of my life's dreams. I wanted to create a program that saved lives after I was gone. And because of what I learned, especially at the Congressman's office, working hard, working for constituents, I helped create a new Department of Mental and Behavioral Health at Cook County, which will do exactly that. It is seeking to fill every gap in the mental and behavioral health space county-wide. And knowing that this program is going to be saving lives, as long as we have functioning government in America, long after I'm gone, that helps me. I know that I am dedicating so much of my time and energy to helping others, but knowing that it's impactful gives me peace of mind, especially when, you know, I'm able to carve out some time for friends, family, loved ones, and a little bit of vacation on that.
Well, thank you. I know we're out of time, and I know, Congressman, you've got a very packed schedule today. So, you have some final words to impart?
I want to say thank you to each of our panelists. Thank you to Dr. Proctor for hosting us. Can you give them all a big round of applause? Thank you to all of you for, you know, devoting some of your precious time to kind of this topic. And I hope some of you consider at least a season of public service, if not a career in public service. And you know, if any of you know of people who would like to be an intern like this young man in the front, I think we have one of the biggest intern programs maybe in the country. That's another thing, we never say no. As much as how hard it is on Leslie in the district office, I think we want more people to get involved. And so we view it as an opportunity to kind of expose somebody to a public service and hopefully kind of spark that light that causes them to pursue this long term. And the same is true for our DC office as well. So I just want to say thank you for your interest. Now more than ever, we have to get involved. People need us. People are hurting in a lot of different ways. And so we have to be the helpers. We have to be the ones that are there for them. So let us know how we can partner together on that mission. So thank you so much.